video series, I'm going to talk about one of the main reasons why people fail to see consistent results in the gym. More often than not, it starts with the program itself. The first step in program design is deciding how much time you want to dedicate to training in the gym. This can be referred to as training frequency. Secondly, your program must target all of the body parts, or better still, the movements, and then within those movements, all of the qualities that you want to train. This can be referred to as exercise selection. The third step after selecting exercises is to prescribe the appropriate volume and intensity, and to ensure that this prescription provides enough stress to get the response that we want from our system, but not so much stress that it leads to injury or overtraining. This can be referred to as progressive overload. In this first episode of the series, we're going to talk about step one in the process, frequency, or put more simply, how often should I train? Let's assume you want to train your whole body, which is going to be most people. Your options for training frequency are 1 day per week on the absolute minimum end of the spectrum, or 7 days per week on the absolute maximum end of the spectrum. However, 4 days per week is typically the most I would prescribe because this leaves extra days for other things like recovery or other types of training. Generally speaking, with more days available to us, we're going to be better able to design a program that creates a training stimulus that leads to the results that we want to see. But again, for argument's sake, let's lay out our options for a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4-day training week. This is the beginning of a program template where I start by laying out the calendar, the periodization, and then the training frequency, which is what we're going to talk about today. So in a 1-day program, which I've never actually designed for anyone, our only option is to train all body parts, all movements, and all qualities on that given day. The big downside to this is quite obvious. In order to truly hit everything we want, this would have to be a very time-consuming session, and in all likelihood, we're just not going to be able to get that done over time. In a 2-day program, which are quite common among individual athletes or teams who are working around a busy sports schedule or general population client who has an otherwise busy schedule outside of the gym, we already have a lot more room for more effective program design. The two options I would consider are A, 2 sessions that target the total body, in this case, total body strength and hypertrophy, or option B, 2 sessions, one that targets lower body and one that targets upper body, more commonly known as an upper-lower split. I believe the most optimal option here is A, which is a program that targets the total body in both sessions, and I'll explain why later. In a 3-day program, which is probably the second most common program I design for athletes, our options are similar. Option A would be 3 total body training sessions per week, and option B would be 1 lower, 1 upper, and 1 total body training session. Again, I believe the most optimal option here is A program that targets the total body in all 3 sessions, and again, we'll talk about why in just a minute. Finally, a 4-day program is the kind of program I most commonly design for clients, and that's because it allows us to train the body parts and movements that we have chosen at a frequency that leads to effective results. Again, here we could choose between 4 total body sessions, or 2 lower body sessions and 2 upper body sessions. So for me, a 4-day program is the threshold where I believe the most effective way to design a program is not to do all total body sessions and instead to split the stimulus between the lower and the upper body. And here's why. In a 2 or 3-day program where you train upper and lower body on different days, there's only one opportunity per week to train major movements, body parts, and muscle groups. For example, if you bench press in your upper body training session, you train that movement, which is a horizontal push, and that body part once per week. But in a 2 or 3-day program where you train the total body in all 3 sessions, you now have more than one opportunity to train that movement. Using the same example, you might barbell bench press on day 1, and then single arm dumbbell bench press on day 3. This matters because now your body is receiving a stimulus more than once per week. And as long as these sessions are spaced appropriately apart, your body is going to be able to recover from that intended stress as well. To highlight this benefit even more, consider what happens when you train in a split style and then miss a training session. If you train lower body on a Monday, and then the following Monday, for whatever reason, you miss a session, you've now gone 7 or more days without training that body part. In a team or private training setting where people are tied to a schedule outside of the gym, it might end up being the following Monday until you are able to execute that session. That's 14 days between sessions. This is obviously far from optimal. And it's for this reason that a training frequency of 4 days per week is the point at which I would choose a split style, because missing one session doesn't mean you have to wait a week or more to train it again. And consider the fact that I haven't even mentioned training in a traditional bodybuilding style split, where you might see legs, arms, chest, and back. and it's for the same reason. Dedicating just 1 day a week to train a body part would require a long and arduous session to get the stress response that we want. This might be appropriate in some bodybuilding settings, but for most people, it's just not going to work. So whether you choose to train once a week, hopefully at least twice a week, or maybe up to 4 times a week, training frequency is a great place to start in program design. Look out for episode 2 in this video series, where we'll continue talking about program design and more specifically exercise selection.